Most people today are exhausted, not because they're lazy, but because they're trying too hard to fix everything on their own. Working harder, thinking more, pushing constantly, and yet still feeling stuck, anxious, and overwhelmed. And here's the surprising truth. This isn't how life was meant to be lived. In fact, Jesus taught something completely different, something that most people miss. A message so simple, yet so powerful, it can completely change how you live your life. We've been taught that success comes from effort. Work harder, push more, try again, and never stop. And while effort matters, it often becomes exhausting when everything depends on us. That's why so many people feel burned out, even when they're doing everything right. Because deep down, we were never designed to carry everything alone. And this is exactly where John 15 begins to change everything. In John 15, Jesus says something that sounds simple, but is deeply profound. I am the vine, and you are the branches. And then he says, apart from me, you can do nothing. Not little, not less, but nothing. That sounds extreme, but it explains exactly why trying harder often doesn't work. Because the secret is not to try harder, it's to stay connected. Jesus uses one key word, abide. Abide means to remain, to stay, to be connected without forcing. Think about a branch. It doesn't struggle to produce fruit. It simply stays connected, and fruit happens naturally. This is where most of us get it wrong. We focus on outcomes instead of connection. We try to fix our lives first, and then go to God as a last option. But Jesus is saying, start with connection, and everything else follows. Peace doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from trusting God. Strength doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from staying connected. When you stop trying to force everything, something shifts inside you. You begin to feel lighter, calmer, and more at peace. Not because life is easier, but because you're no longer carrying it alone. And this is what abiding looks like in real life. It's not about doing more, it's about staying close. And when you stay connected, you don't have to force results, because growth begins to happen naturally from within. This is why some people look calm even in difficult situations, because their strength is not coming from themselves. They are connected to something greater, something steady, something unshakable. And that connection changes how they respond to stress, fear, and uncertainty. Instead of reacting quickly, they pause, trust, and move forward with peace. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect, but it means you are no longer controlled by it. Because when you are connected to the source, your strength is no longer limited. And that's the part most people miss. They focus on effort instead of connection. They try to produce results without staying connected to the source of life. And that leads to frustration, burnout, and constant pressure. But Jesus offers a different way, one that is simple, but not always easy to accept. He says, remain in me, and I will remain in you. This is not about doing more, but about staying close. And when you stay close, your life begins to change from the inside out. Your thoughts become clearer, your heart becomes calmer, and your actions become more intentional. Not because you are forcing it, but because it is flowing naturally. This is the difference between striving and abiding. Striving is exhausting, but abiding is peaceful. Striving depends on your strength, but abiding depends on God's strength. And God's strength never runs out. So what does abiding actually look like in everyday life? It looks like starting your day with God instead of rushing into everything. It looks like pausing in stressful moments and choosing trust over fear. It looks like letting go of control and believing that God is already working. And it looks like staying connected even when you don't feel anything. Because connection is not about feelings, it's about faith. And faith keeps you grounded when everything else feels uncertain. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. And slowly, you begin to notice something changing in your life. You are no longer chasing everything. You are walking in alignment. You are no longer overwhelmed. You are steady. You are no longer forcing. You are flowing. And this is the life Jesus was talking about. A life that is not driven by pressure, but sustained by connection. So if you've been trying too hard, maybe it's time to stop. Not because effort is wrong, but because effort without connection leads nowhere. And connection without effort still produces results. So today, shift your focus from trying harder to staying connected, from forcing results to trusting the process, from stress to peace. Because everything you're looking for flows from that connection. And when you understand this, everything begins to change. Not instantly, but deeply. So stop trying so hard and simply remain, because everything you need flows from staying connected to Him.